Hey everybody, welcome to Candy Coated Conversations with your girl Candace and my co-host Tamika Heavy on the spot. Hey girl.
Hey, Candy. Hey, everybody. Hey, Heidi.
Hey Heidi. And look, let me put the link in the chat. Hey Coco.
Hey,
Look, yeah,
Coco
Coco. You
Drips.
see how late it is? I had to start a show because I didn't see no show from you. I was waiting. I was waiting. Coco done slid her ass on in here.
Slither on in.
No, she's supposed to be live right now.
Press the link, Coco.
Here, I'm putting the link. Okay, anybody drifting on in? Please hit the like button on your way in. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
Tamika,
Go.
how was your
Hey, Ava.
day? Now I know your day is kind of just getting started because you part of the late night crew. But how's the day been?
My day been
Hey, Gold
well.
Digger.
Hey, Go. My day actually been well. I can't
Good.
complain. It's been well. I smiled today. I laughed today. And it's been well. How your day been?
Wonderful. You know what? The day I ain't gonna lie to y'all. My day did not start off good. My day was not good at all. My entire day. I ain't even gonna lie. My entire day was not good. But it got better. It got better. Some things got resolved, and it was a good day. I did a little bit of retail therapy. Came home, talked to Tamika, laughed, and chatted. And it's turned out to be a much better day. Heidi said that she was on Twitch today. Coco, how you doing today, girl? Look, I ain't gonna put you on Front Street, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. I know
You
I know your boo's
you
gone.
put
How
me
did you
all
make
the
it through the
way
day?
on the front street, girl.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I put you
listen,
on Front Street about the show, but I'm putting you on
yeah,
Front Street about other how you make it through the day. I know your boo's gone. You doing okay?
uh, I'm hanging in there.
Hey Eva, welcome.
But
Yes, welcome, Ava.
girl, I got caught up over there on on Z Banger's Twitch watching the all the zoo stuff.
Oh, is that what's going on the Twitch?
Yeah, they and well, we went from Zeus to Six Side, and then they are on playing well, shit, Tronics now.
Oh,
But
okay.
and I
So
happened
Rainy
to see you
Station is
went
already
live.
going.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they've been on the roll.
Okay. Well, we only over here for a little short time, just to touch in, say hi to everybody, and I may end up over there myself before I go to bed. As a matter of fact, I'm definitely gonna go over there and jump in and say hi to everybody. Um, and say hello.
That's what's up. But yeah, they've been on the roll. So I got stuck over there. I was just like, fuck it. I'll just do the my regular Taco Tuesday.
Did you just delete somebody out of here, Tamika?
Did you read what they said?
They said something about a 9-year-old. What was they saying?
That they was playing with their 9-year-old. Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Yeah,
It was a
saying something
troll.
weird. Hey, yeah,
You
hey
could
Shay.
view the deleted one though if you go on the thing. It will say what was the deleted message.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna screenshot it and send it.
Okay, Shay said Candy. Hold on, let me see. Candy, there was something I wanted you to discuss. It's on Law and Crime, and the title is All Evidence in Ruby Frank and Jody Hildebrandt's. I want all the mom's opinions.
Mm,
Okay.
that sounds good.
Hmm. Hold on. Let me take a second and get Shay straightened out. Look, what else I need to do, Shay? Y'all really be acting like I know. Um, I don't see no message from you, Shay.
So is this a TV show? She's saying.
No, it's something over on Law and Crime. Here, I'm gonna go find it right now. Law and Crime. Let's see what we got. Anybody else got something they want to discuss? Put it in the chat too. We're open to it. Okay, let me find this specific one that Shay's talking about. Okay, it says Ruby Frank's family speaks out after child abuse conviction. Okay, you guys. So Shay, I remember Shay would like us to take a little dive into this story. So we're definitely gonna look at it. Hey Toya, anybody I
Hey
missed?
Toya,
Hello.
hey Shay, hey
You
anybody that
guys,
came
on your way
in.
in, hit the like button real quick. So
Oh
let's
shoot.
see what this story is. Let's check this out. Well, first of all, before I do that, let me turn down this little bit of music. There. Let's cut that and let's get into this. I hope it's not disturbing my soul too much, Shay. Let's see, you guys. Let's see what this is all about.
I think it's good for me to talk. I think it's good for everyone to kind of get the side of the story that they want.
Former mommy vlogger Ruby Frankie is locked up behind bars, and the community is still reeling from the information released by Utah officials documenting Frankie's abuse against her own children, as well as their rescue from her business partner's home. But now, more family members are answering some lingering questions publicly. We're sitting down with KUTV2 News' anchor and reporter Brian Schnee to look at some of these responses. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey, everybody, this is a Law and Crime legal.
Hey, Shay, do you want to come up and introduce the story? Because I think I may kind of know what this is about, but I'm not all the way sure. So if you, go to the one that says evidence. Okay. Hold on, you guys. We're looking at the wrong one.
Hey
One that says
Daniel, welcome
evidence.
again.
Hold on. How about I do this? Ruby. How about I do this? This right here. Horrible pieces of evidence. 15 most horrible. Okay. Let's check this one out.
It feels like I was being set up to end up here. I mean, I shouldn't be here. I haven't done anything wrong.
This is a witch hunt. I, the devil's been after me for years.
Are you aware of the physical condition of your children?
No. No. I've chosen to trust my wife with the children.
It is here. We have just reviewed the newly released materials in the Ruby Frankie case, interviews, jailhouse phone calls, and disturbing journal entries. We break all of this down for you right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
Okay, so you guys, just so you know, we are reacting to this, and welcome to the stage, Shay. We are reacting to this. I will say Shay's going to give us some more detail, but I believe that this is the story. I believe she's or was a fairly popular YouTuber
Oh,
in
I
the
got
mom.
the wrong woman, Candy. Hold on, let me see. This is the wrong case.
Oh,
The
this
one
is
I
not
want
a.
you to see is it's about a nurse, a mom. Give me 2 seconds. I'm about to find
Uh-huh.
it.
Hey
Are you on
everyone
your
that just
computer?
came in.
Who did I miss? Hey, Gold Digger. I think I caught Gold Digger though. Hey, Daniel. Look, Daniel coming in with a new greeting. Yo. Hey, Daniel. How are you tonight? Hopefully well. We're just coming in here for just a quick, just to touch base with
Okay,
everybody.
Candy.
Uh-huh.
It's the one. It says mother allegedly murders her 3 kids after having a postpartum psychotic break.
Oh, God. Girl, why you doing
That's
this to
why I
me
said
before I
this
go
is
to
for the
bed?
moms. I just want a mom opinion.
Let me see. Here it is. Mother
Yep, that's the
allegedly.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Um, just to say, if we stop this, we are reacting to it. So, of course, when you're reacting to something on YouTube, you do need to stop periodically and add commentary, which we will be doing to stay within YouTube's guidelines. So, let's see what this is that Shay wants us to take a look at. And Shay is specifically wanting uh, mothers' opinions. Of course, dads, feel free to chime in. Do you want to introduce this or what you know about it, Shay?
So I didn't really watch the whole thing. I just watched the a little bit of the beginning part, and I was like, "Oh, I should save this for when I talk to Candy. She gotta see this." So I
Okay,
didn't
let's
watch the
take
whole
a
thing.
look. Well, you know what? We're gonna look at this, but isn't this just disturbing after hearing about how
No, but
last
you gotta
week
hear the
we
story
had the
though. You
little.
gotta hear the story
Yeah, I want to
behind
hear it, but it's just adding on to that
it.
lady that killed with the solar eclipse or whatever that was
Oh
last
shit,
week.
that's some
Ugh,
crazy shit.
too much. Leave these
Hey,
babies
true
This
crime
alone.
ain't that
besties.
though.
Welcome back to an all new episode of Serialously. Hey, everybody, welcome back to an all new episode of Serialously with me, Annie Elise. Today's
Shout
case that
out
we're
to
going to be talking
seriously.
about is one that we've touched on a little bit before. However, we haven't talked about it on the podcast. We've only talked about it over on my YouTube channel, 10 to Life. However, there have been a lot of updates now and new details in this case, some pretty horrific details, I might add. So, what I wanted to do today is go over the case again. I'll give you a little bit of a backstory to it, just in case you're hearing it for the first time and you need a refresher or you're not familiar with it. And then we're going to talk about all of the updates because it's one that has, honestly, I want to say the entire country, but it could be international at this point. It has everybody divided. Some people think that this person is innocent or should not be held accountable to a very strict sentence, while others think that this was premeditated, that this person is a monster, and that it is just absolutely enraging and horrific, which the case itself absolutely is. So I'm curious once we go through everything today to see where you stand on this case. And I would love it if you would share your feedback with me, either in the comment section on YouTube for the video version of this, or even on Spotify in the Q&A section, or of course in the review section on the podcast. Because
Okay, at
again,
this
so many
point,
people
she's
are
just
divided, and
introducing
I have my
everything.
opinions, and I had strong opinions out of the gate, which I feel like have shifted quite a bit. But anyways, I'm curious to know what you guys think. So without further ado, let's kind of just jump right in.
Yes,
This
please.
mother has been charged with strangling her 3 young children. Her lawyers blame postpartum depression.
He continued to scream uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement. And when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "She killed the kids."
Their mother, Lindsay Clancy, is charged in their deaths.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor. On Friday, January 27th, 2023, using an erasable whiteboard because she was still temporarily intubated, one of the first questions that Lindsay Clancy asked was, "Do I need an attorney?" She knew that she had murdered her children, and she had the clarity, focus, and mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests.
Wow. Now this is a perfect place to stop. This is a perfect place to stop. You mean to tell me you kill your 3 children,
Oh,
you
I forgot to
strangle
tell
them,
you she's a
Unalive.
nurse.
and then supposedly after you come out from your psychotic break or whatever we're calling this, you have the wherewithal to immediately ask, do you need legal representation? You don't, if you were that out of it, Shay, tell me, and other moms on the panel, I would be asking where my kids were if I had a genuine break.
You
I
got
wouldn't
that
even
right.
I wouldn't even know what had happened.
Yeah,
Right?
you're right.
Yeah, that means I snapped out of it, and prior, I don't know what the hell happened. That's a psychotic break, honestly speaking. Like you blacked out.
Exactly.
So when you came to 2, that's the first thing I'll think about is where's my kids? Where's my
Yeah,
kids? And then that's when they'll
exactly.
have to
Because
sit
I
me
would
down
be
and tell me.
disoriented. I wouldn't even know what
Yes.
happened.
Because when I
Are
got
you
into my
asking?
car accident and I
Mhm.
lost consciousness, and when I came to, even though I was like still going in and out, I was still asking, "Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter?" And that's me personally.
Crazy. I just had to stop there because that was shocking. That the
Oh,
first thing out of your mouth.
that ain't even the shockingest part.
Oh, let's get back to it. Let's get back to it.
So, if you haven't guessed it by now, today we're going to be talking about the new information revealed in the Lindsay Clancy case, as more haunting details have now emerged. This has been a case that has been wildly debated as rooted in postpartum psychosis versus plain premeditated evil. And it now has this new evidence, and it gives us some insight into what may have really been going on in Lindsay's mind leading up to the horrific murders. And that's because allegedly, Lindsay researched methods of killing before she strangled her 3 children to death and attempted to take her own life. Now, as
Cool,
I mentioned, if you
premeditated.
haven't heard of this case, the unbelievable tragedy of the Clancy family in Duxbury, Massachusetts, it occurred on January 24th, 2023, and it was just your typical average Tuesday for the Clancy family. Lindsay was a 32-year-old mother of 3. She was a mother to Cora, aged 5 years old, Dawson, 3 years old, and Callan, 8 months old.
Oh my
Lindsay and
God,
her
those
husband
poor
Patrick
precious
were home with the
babies.
kids when Patrick then left to go and pick up food for the family. Later on Tuesday night and over the days that followed, news broke and it spread like wildfire after it was reported that officers were called to the Clancy's home just after 6 p.m. and they were met with a horrific scene. Upon their arrival, the officers discovered 3 children who were unconscious with obvious signs of trauma. The 3 children were rushed to a local hospital where Cora and Dawson were pronounced as dead. The baby, 8-month-old Callan, managed to survive and was flown to Boston Children's Hospital where he was in critical condition and getting treatment, but unfortunately, he died just a few days later. Lindsay was found on the ground outside of the house after cutting her wrists and jumping out of a window on the 2nd floor of the house. Soon after, Lindsay was charged for murdering her 3 children.
Now look, she sound crazy as a bed bug doing all that. She do sound like, she was going through some things.
Murder, that suicide. I mean, that's basically what it was that she was doing. I don't think
But
that it
okay,
was a
yeah,
psychotic break, though.
yeah, she was trying to just do a murder suicide, and she just didn't
Yeah.
do a good enough job of
Wait,
herself.
y'all, wait. Hold y'all opinions because they gonna change again.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh my God, this is
Oh,
just
all right,
crazy.
Candy,
Okay,
we jumping the gun.
okay, okay. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. Okay, Shaden brought us this crazy story. Let's see it. Let's see.
Specifically, she was charged with 2 counts of homicide, 3 counts of strangulation or suffocation, and 3 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. So, as this case continued to garner an unbelievable amount of national media attention, the public really did struggle with how to make sense of what had happened. You see, Lindsay was a loving mother, a wife, and also a labor and delivery nurse. Her and Patrick were living what many people would consider a perfect dream life in an affluent suburb with 3 precious babies. So many people wondered how a mother could do this in general, but also the fact that she was a labor and delivery nurse added a complete other layer of confusion to the case. She literally helped bring children into the world, and her social media was filled, chock full of sweet pictures with her, her children, Patrick, all of the kids kissing them, holding them, playing with them. She also had this loving husband and a very strong marriage. So, how on earth did this happen? It didn't make any sense. People that knew Lindsay spoke out and said that she was struggling with postpartum depression.
I'm taking a quick pause here, you guys. Can you imagine being her husband and knowing that your wife killed all your children?
Not 1, not even 2, but all 3.
All of your children.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in
Crazy.
mind, at the point when this happens, by all accounts, aren't you a happily married man? to think that
He
your
just
wife would
went to the
do that.
store to go get milk.
Yeah. Oh no, he went to go get dinner.
Food. Yeah, dinner. But yeah,
That's
Wow.
this is just so sad. It is so
It's very
sad.
sad.
Okay. I want here, I want to get to the rest of this.
And she was also on leave from her job at Massachusetts General Hospital. It was also revealed that Lindsay was in an inpatient treatment program for mental health struggles for 5 days back in January, just a month or a few weeks actually before this tragic night occurred. After Lindsay was on leave from work, Patrick began to work from
Wait, you
home
guys
instead of
pay.
going into
Wait,
the
pause this
office
right
so that he
quick.
could be there to support Lindsay.
Okay.
Make sure you pay very close attention to what this lady's about to say, okay? When she talks about
Okay.
medication.
Okay, this is very important.
Mhm.
I can't hear nothing.
Candy, we can't hear you.
I think she froze. Candy, where you at? This is a crazy story. I was waiting on Candy too.
Okay, guys, we're
Having some technical difficulties.
technical difficulties. Yes. But this story is getting wild, Shay. So can we just talk about it from now to
Yep,
what
let's
we
go for
already
it.
see? Huh? We can?
Yeah, go for it.
Although you know the whole story and you know we may be jumping the gun, but we just giving speculations. So let me
Okay.
get this straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
This woman had 3 kids. Hey, Curly Cookie. This woman had 3 children.
And was a labor and delivery nurse.
And was a labor delivery nurse. Okay. Her youngest child was 8 months, correct?
Yes.
So this is the question that I want to get to, that I wanted to stop there. Because I'm like much younger. So, well, not much younger, but younger. So how long is it normal for someone to go through postpartum depression? Is it from, after birth on 2 when the child is 1 year old up to 3? Like, what is it in y'all opinion, or whether y'all know that?
Well, don't give me the line because my daughter, she had colic very, very bad. One of the worst cases her doctor had ever seen. And it was like breaking my heart, and it took me to a deep depression, like fast, within a couple weeks. And it lasted for a long time. But not bad enough to want me to kill my kid. It would just make me upset because I couldn't
Coco.
soothe her.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever experience that, or do you know the length
Neither.
of postpartum?
I didn't experience it, thank God. And I don't know from
You
what
probably
I
had a
get
good
about
baby, that's why.
it. She's pretty good. Um I think it's a case by case basis, but I'm speculating. I don't know, really.
Yeah, right. It's just a speculation because I really don't know. So Heidi said that it could be many years. Heidi also said it
8
could
years?
basically several months.
Too many
It could
years.
be many years and several months that you could be going through that.
Crazy.
So yeah, maybe she did have a good case on saying it was postpartum.
But wait.
Now, I never experienced postpartum to that extent. I did experience the crying phase. Like, I didn't know why I was just crying out of the blue. After I had my daughter, I just used to cry, but I didn't know why. But I believe it was postpartum. My doctor, it's postpartum. But I never been through it to where as though that I wanted to harm either my children, myself. I didn't go through that. So I just want to get in her head, like, what in the world?
What happened to Candy?
She coming back. She's connecting her devices now. That's crazy though.
Yeah, I don't know anyone personally that's been through it either.
Not to that extent.
Yeah, not to that
And you a
extent,
labor and
right?
delivery nurse?
Who?
That's the part that got me.
Her, Coco, she was a labor and
Oh,
delivery nurse. So
that's
look, Gold
crazy.
said, here's the facts. She has 3 children. She was a labor and delivery nurse. Her baby was 8 months old, and she had postpartum depression and unalive her 3 children. Yes, that's all
That's
facts.
crazy.
So that means she had
That's
to
all
unalive them
facts.
three separate times. Right?
Well, I guess, yeah, because it wasn't like it was like a natural disaster or anything. So yeah,
Because I didn't
and remember
listen to
the
the end to
baby.
see how they died. I didn't get that far.
No, they just said it was a horrific scene, and they had the drive the baby. What was the 8 months old? Coco. Thank you, Coco. Dang, you was blazing over there. Pop, pop, shoot, shoot, pop, pop. Boom, boom, shoot, shoot.
I forgot I wasn't on mute. I was so sorry.
Marianne, Seroquel, Zoloft, and Trazodone. He said, and I quote,
Oh, okay.
"This family was on the road to hell and unfortunately
Well,
is
you
not
gotta
coming
watch
back.
something.
Her husband actually went to the doctor the week before this happened to ask for help and said, 'You're turning her into a zombie.' It was just a brutal, brutal existence that they were living in. Her parents were also aware of this. They were trying to help out the husband as well. Her husband was never told that he shouldn't leave her alone. I like to think in this case it's justice for Lindsay as well. I don't think anyone needs to be lectured about the horrific loss of 3 beautiful babies." Her defense attorney also filed a motion that the judge granted
y'all
and
ain't even
scheduled
see the
Lindsay to speak
medication
with a forensic psychologist to evaluate her before the arraignment. Again, this is something where everybody was just really divided because there were, of course, people saying, no, this woman just brutally killed her 3 children, then tried to take her own life, not seeing that as taking her own life because she couldn't bear what was going on, but almost she took her own life because she's a coward and she doesn't want to face the music for this. And we're going to get into some more of the details of like the planning of these murders as well, which is why so many people still believe this. But then you had the whole other side of the case and the argument saying, no, she was clearly under duress. She was clearly mentally ill. She had been struggling. She told people she was struggling. She was in treatment for it. She was then prescribed over a dozen medications. Of course, that would warp anybody's sense of reality, behavior, and reactions and thinking. There's no way that she can be held accountable for this. So everybody was very, very divided on this right out of the gate. So much so that, to be quite honest, I feel like a lot of people weren't really sharing their personal opinions from a creator aspect because it is such a sensitive topic. I, however, did share my initial reactions because it's no secret, and I've said it many times on my YouTube channel, maybe not on my podcast, so you're probably hearing it here first, but I struggled with pretty bad postpartum depression with my first child. Luckily, it never was to this degree, and I never had any sort of violent thoughts or anything like that, but it was a horrible experience where I suffered detachment.
Okay, sorry about the technical difficulties, you guys. I had computers, but
you didn't even get the part with the medication list.
Oh, you want me a medication list? Let me see.
I just want y'all to see that medication list and tell me, you goddamn right she out of it. Look what they had her on.
Okay, here, I think I saw the list.
She was on, which is a plethora of meds to be on, included Ambien, Valium, Klonopin, Prozac, Lamictal, Ativan, Ramirian, Seroquel, Zoloft, and Trazodone.
At one time?
He said, and I quote,
all
"This
of those
family was on the road to
antidepressants at
hell,
one time.
and unfortunately is not coming back." Her husband actually went to the doctor the week before this happened to ask for help and said, "You're turning her into a zombie." It was just a...
Now, this right here, that list right there, I'm not gonna
That's what
lie,
I'm saying.
Shay, I'm telling you, that is enough for me to give her an excuse. Who put her on
Yes.
all of those medications at one time? How did she obtain all those various medications? Now, let's keep in mind, look, I always
I
gotta play
blame the
devil's
doctor.
advocate. Exactly.
I
But
blame
always
the
gotta
doctor.
the doctor, but let's keep in mind too, she is a nursing professional. Sometimes you can put yourself in position where you to look were all these legally obtained prescribed medications for her, because I can't imagine any doctor putting someone on all of those medications at once
If they
and
did,
thinking
it's
that
the
she's not going
doctor
to go
fault.
out her mind. Yes,
If they
I would
did, it's
sue
his
for
fault.
everything.
Man, what?
And they're all
That's
antidepressants. So yes, that was
Wait, yes, most of them are.
psychotic break.
The
Like Zoloft and
Klonopin.
Zoloft and Prozac, they do not combine as equal because they're two
Yeah, they're
psychotic
both depression.
medicines. Like they're psych
Pretty
meds because
the
they're
same thing
antidepressants.
almost.
But they clash also because one is an upper and one is a downer. She
Yeah.
was on uppers and downers at the same time. So that's why she have a psychotic break or psychotic break or whatever. Like
And
that's
that
what yours
trazodone,
did.
that trazodone will
I don't
make
know
you
nothing
feel
about
like
that.
you're
I
losing
don't
it.
know about those.
yeah, that list of medications. If all those medications were in her system that she had been prescribed to take while she was trying to get help for her
That's why her
postpartum
husband went
depression,
back to the
this
doctor.
is enough for her to get off. And I'm sorry, she deserves to get off, because you know what? When her mind clears from everything that a physician possibly put her on, and her mind clears and she realizes what she's done, can you guys imagine what this mother is going to go through and feel like? I
Right.
can't
And
even
she
imagine it.
was already depressed.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
I
awful.
told y'all
Okay.
this was a good one.
Yeah. This with that list, Shay, I may have to say it. I hate to say it, but I got to be fair. She needs to get out. This woman doesn't need to be in jail. Somebody needs to be in jail, but
And
it's
she needs
not
to be in some
necessarily
serious
her.
therapy.
And she needs therapy so she can deal what she has done under the influence of all these drugs.
And she's
Who
gonna have
was
to
that
learn to accept it's not her
irresponsible?
fault.
Okay, who was this irresponsible?
A brutal, brutal existence that they were living in. Her parents were also aware of this. They were trying to help out the husband as well. Her husband was never told that he shouldn't leave her alone. I like to think in this case it's justice for Lindsay as well. I don't think anyone needs to be lectured about the horrific loss of 3 beautiful babies. Her defense attorney also filed a motion that the judge granted and scheduled Lindsay to speak with a forensic psychologist to evaluate her before the arraignment. Again, this is something where everybody was just really divided, because there were, of course, people saying, no, this woman just brutally killed her 3 children, then tried to take her own life, not seeing that as taking her own life because she couldn't bear what was going on, but almost she took her own life because she's a coward and she doesn't want to face the music for this. And we're going to get into some more of the details of like the planning of these murders as well, which is why so many people still believe this. But then you had the whole other side of the case and the argument saying, no, she was clearly under duress. She was clearly mentally ill. She had been struggling. She told people she was struggling. She was in treatment for it. She was then prescribed over a dozen medications. Of course, that would warp anybody's sense of reality, behavior, and reactions and thinking. There's no way that she can be held accountable for this. So everybody was very, very divided.
Yeah, and let's also throw this in there, because I understand what she's saying. I understand the division, but people need to realize, even in that state of mind, you're probably manically, not clearly. Like, come on, you guys. If you're under the influence, anything you're doing, if you,
It's like sleepwalking.
yeah, let me plan this unaliving of my 3 children. You're still doing that from a medicated place. An
That's sedated,
overly
yep.
medicated place. Yeah, you're not just sitting there with no
all of these 13 medications coursing through your body and just with a clear mind and head and planning this. You're
Right, but she didn't have this
planning.
problem. She ain't had a problem
Exactly.
until she had that baby, the last one.
Yeah, and even if they're trying to say that she's planning it, you're planning it with a body full of medication. You're planning like a crazy person. I would think. You know, this is not somebody in their right mind. So just because you may have written something down, you're still in that same physical state. That's my thoughts. Y'all free to disagree. Let's get back to it. Ugh.
On this right out of the gate. So much so that, to be quite honest, I feel like a lot of people weren't really sharing their personal opinions from a creator aspect because it is such a sensitive topic. I, however, did share my initial reactions because it's no secret, and I've said it many times on my YouTube channel, maybe not on my podcast, so you're probably hearing it here first, but I struggled with pretty bad postpartum depression with my first child. Luckily, it never was to this degree, and I never had any sort of violent thoughts or anything like that, but it was a horrible experience where I suffered detachment. I was sad all the time. I felt like I couldn't connect or bond with my son, and it was a really difficult time. And unfortunately, there is such a stigma around it that it takes a lot of women sometimes a while until they recognize that there's a problem, and also then to get on medication for it because there's a stigma. So not to go too far off on that path, but Lindsay was on the medication. She was raising her hand saying something is wrong here. The thoughts I'm having are not natural. I need help. Put me into the inpatient treatment. If I'm not in the inpatient program, put me in the outpatient program. But still, to a lot of people, still to this day, and you'll see why.
Wow. That's something else we got to talk about. If you're to the point where you're telling someone, where you're reaching out for help and you're telling them, please put me in an inpatient program.
And then you discharge her?
Yeah. You're basically saying, I need to be locked up. The thoughts I'm having are so crazy. I need to be locked up and I need to be looked at. Can you imagine yourself, Shay, can you imagine yourself asking for that type of detailed help and being turned away? Or somebody telling you that nothing is wrong with you?
Or they just give her another medication.
Another pill
Well, you know
to
they
add
had
to
her
the
at the
list.
facility, but they discharged her.
Oh, goodness. Thank you for this. Thank you for the super sticker, Tamika.
You welcome.
Look, y'all, I almost did get no allowance today. That's what Tamika said. Okay, y'all. Okay. I had to laugh a little bit because this is just too much. This is, yeah. Let's get back.
That wasn't enough, and they still believed that this was cold-blooded murder, premeditated, and very meticulously planned out. So let's talk a little bit more about this and then kind of go into some of those updates and some of the new things that was found on her tech devices and in some of her personal journals. So on Tuesday, February 7th, Lindsay was
Hold on, let me stop this real quick. Look, I'm team mom so far, but if they mention any damn thing about another man in this picture, I'm gonna switch up so quick.
Hey, look, Candy, I ain't heard this. I ain't heard the rest of it yet, so we all new to this part.
We're gonna hear it together, okay?
Yep.
Look, I'm team her. But if I hear anything about this rest of this evidence and it's another man involved,
turns to take a team
side. Hell, look, I'm switching quick. I said, "Oh, this is this bitch is diabolical. She playing this to a T." Look, let's listen. Let's listen. Let's listen. Oh, I better not hear nothing about a man in this. Okay.
Rained, and at this hearing, the absolute chilling and horrific details were revealed of what exactly happened that day. Lindsay appeared at this hearing via Zoom, and she was still in a hospital bed with a mask on. And you really couldn't tell her emotions in this Zoom because she had the mask on, but she did seem to be heavily medicated. There wasn't a lot of expression. She kind of seems a little zombie-like, and at this point, too, it hadn't been confirmed, But we later learn that she was paralyzed from the waist down. This as a result from jumping from the second story of her home, trying to end her own life. And here's what the prosecution had to say.
Dawson and Callan were face down on the floor. Cora was on her side with her torso turned towards the floor. He removed the bands and begged them to breathe. He continued to scream uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement. And when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "She killed the kid." On Friday, January 27th, 2023, using an erasable whiteboard because she was still temporarily intubated, one of the first questions that Lindsay Clancy asked was, "Do I need an attorney?" She knew that she had murdered her children, and she had the clarity, focus, and mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, the defendant took her 5-year-old daughter, Cora, to the pediatricians for an appointment. She interacted with a receptionist, nursing staff, and a doctor. There were apparently no issues with the defendant's demeanor or behavior as she completed the appointment and was allowed to leave with Cora without any issues or concerns.
Look, I gotta stop real quick. Let's also add this to it, you guys. If she really wasn't in this type of mental state, right? She had, you guys, there's no way this woman could had a clear mind doing this. There's no way. Because would you jump out of a window? Slit your wrist and then jump out of a window? The woman is laying in that bed paralyzed from the waist down. So you know how, like, I'm over here being facetious, like there better not be no men, but clearly you had no intentions of running off with anybody, I would think, to leave yourself in this now,
Right?
this
Because she
type of
thought she was
physical
gonna
state.
die. She
Right.
thought she was
You
gonna
thought
die.
you were gonna die. So you can't have been trying, oh, I'm running off with, because you know what, let's be for real, you guys, everybody here on the panel, we have heard stories of these women killing their children because they want to run off with the next man and they want to be child free and they know that man don't want to be bothered with their kids. But we don't hear about them trying to harm themselves as well. This woman slit her wrist and jumped out of a
And jump.
2-story building. So, okay. Yeah,
Candy,
I'm
I gotta drop
just.
down to the comments. My mama calling.
Oh, okay, okay.
When she returned home, she went outside with Cora and a 3-year-old son, Dawson, to play in the snow. They built a snowman. The defendant sent photos to her mother and to the defendant, straight that to her husband. She texted with them. Nothing in the text was out of the ordinary or any sign of any distress or trouble. Then searched at Takeout 3V via her cell phone at 4:13 p.m. Immediately after doing that, she used Apple Maps on her phone to determine how long it would take someone to drive from her home in Duxbury to 3V restaurant in Plymouth. So she would know how long someone would be gone if they ran that errand. At 4:53 p.m., the defendant texted her husband, who was working in his home office in their basement. She texted, "Any chance you want to do takeout from 3V? I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day." This was an unusual request.
Okay. All right. So this is where they're setting her up that there was some type of nefarious activity going on. So let me just recap in case y'all didn't catch it. They're stating that she looked up a restaurant in her Apple Maps to see how far or how long it would take someone to go to the restaurant and back. So she checked the time frame. Then she went and asked her husband, "Hey, why don't you go get us some food from this particular restaurant?" I believe they called it 3V. So now let's see, because remember, she did all of this with the children, everything took place when her husband went to go get the food. So let's continue.
That could be coincidental.
Yeah,
And
it
I
could be
say that
coincidental.
because
Yeah, me too. I think so too. Go ahead, give me your opinion, Coco.
I know a lot of times when I'm ordering food from a place I don't normally order from, it's likely that I'm gonna check to see the distance
to
or
see how
how
long it's gonna
far.
take. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
okay, we're really hungry, so how long is this gonna take? That's what I was
Right.
thinking initially too. Like maybe she was just trying to see how long it would take her husband to get back with the food. We don't
Right.
know. Let's see. But it seems like they're trying to set her up. This is where the premeditation is coming in, where they're trying to set it up. So let's see.
And I
Gotcha.
believe that part.
Ooh,
I don't
listen to
believe
Tamika.
As when the family ordered takeout, they usually go somewhere closer to home, but it was a place that they had been in the past. Patrick Clancy texted back yes, and then the defendant asked him to check the menu. At 5:15 p.m., Patrick Clancy headed out the door to run these errands at the defendant's request. As he left, she texted him Pedialyte liquid stool softener. Surveillance footage shows Mr. Clancy at CVS on Summer Street in Kingston at 5:32 p.m. He goes to the medication aisle, the children's medication aisle. Phone records show that he called the defendant at 5:33 p.m. and she did not answer the phone. He then calls him back at 5:34 p.m. and the call lasted 14 seconds. He's there at the store unsure of which medication to get, and she tells him exactly what she wants. He had no issues communicating with her. It was a completely normal call, although he did mention that she seemed like she was in the middle of something. When he arrived home, the first thing he noticed was the silence. He did not see or hear the defendant or the children. He actually called her cell phone at 6:09 p.m. looking for them, and she did not answer. He went to their bedroom on the second floor and the door was locked. He was able to open it, and when he looked inside, he saw blood on the floor in front of a full-length mirror and the window open. He immediately runs downstairs and into the backyard where he finds the defendant laying on the ground. She appeared to have cuts on her wrists and neck, but he stated to 911 that those wounds were no longer bleeding. She was conscious. He called 911. During this time, he asked the defendant, "What did you do?" She responded to him, "I tried to kill myself and jumped out the window." During the 911 call, Patrick can be heard asking the defendant, "Where are the kids?" He later told police that she replied, "In the basement." So immediately after this happened, she knew what she had done and she knew where the kids were. When EMS arrived, he asked them to stay with her so he could go find his kids. The 911 call kept going. Patrick can be heard on the 911 call entering the home and heading to the basement. At one point, he calls out, "Guys." He can then be heard screaming in agony and shock as he found his children. His screams seem to get louder and more agonized as the time passes. Cora and Callan were on the floor in the den area of the finished basement, which is to the left when you walk down the stairs, while Dawson was alone on the floor in his father's home office, which is to the right when you go down the stairs. Each child still had the exercise band that was used to strangle them tied around their necks when their father found them. Dawson and Callan were face down on the floor. Cora was on her side with her torso turned towards the floor. He removed the bands and begged them to breathe. He continued to scream uncontrollably and screamed for officers to come to the basement. The dispatchers are hearing this and they send help down to the basement. And when they encounter Patrick, he yells out, "She killed the kids." According to her husband, she was never on more than 4 to 5 medications at one time. And at the time of the murder, she was taking only 3 medications. And he said to the police that she always took the medications as prescribed. After her stay at McLean, the defendant appeared to be getting better.
Okay. So could what they're seeing, what husband is seeing, because husband ain't covering it immediately. He's saying, granted, that may have been a list of all the medications she's tried, but at that particular point in time, she was on 3 medications. Now, of course, they probably going to get all into it, how those 3 medications work with one another. But he's basically, look, he calming us down. Look, Tamika, you might be on to something. He's calming us down. Like, wait a minute, she ain't taking all those medications right now. You know,
right? She was
she's
on
she's only on
got
3
off few.
that she takes. According to the way that you're supposed to take them, according to the way they're prescribed, she takes them the right way. And also keep in mind, we're still talking about a nurse here herself. So, okay, he's pointing that out to us. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Ooh, if this mouse don't stop acting a fool. Okay, hold on, y'all. I'm trying to get back to the story. Oh my god, where is this little? Does that ever happen to you guys? Okay, here it is. You're like,
Yes, all
where
the
is the
time.
little mouse at? And lost the shit again. Okay, here we go.
According to her husband, she slept well, interacted with friends and family. She went out with her kids and husband to places like the Kingsbury Club in Duxbury, the Charlie Horse Restaurant, the Museum of Science in Boston, the Cape Codder down the Cape, interacting with her family and the public without any apparent difficulties. She even stayed alone with the children on several occasions without any issues in January of 2023. Her husband asked her in mid-January, "Are you still having suicidal thoughts?" And she said no. On the night of the killings, Patrick Clancy was interviewed by the police at Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth Hospital. He told the police that the defendant was having one of her best days. She was smiling and happy, and there was no indication that she was going to harm the kids. No one at all described her as acting like a zombie in the days leading up to the murder or on the day of the murders themselves. On February 5th, 2023, this past Sunday at 1:35 p.m., while sitting with Dr. Paul Zeisel, the psychologist hired by defense counsel to evaluate her mental state, the defendant used Dr. Zeisel's cell phone to call her husband. She left a voicemail stating that she loved him. Yesterday, on February 6, 2023, at 10:09 a.m., she again used Dr. Zeisel's cell phone to call her husband. This time he answered, and during this call, the defendant stated that after he left the house that night, she killed the kids because she heard a voice and had, quote, a moment of psychosis, end quote. He asked her what voices she heard, and she said she heard a man's voice telling her to kill the kids and kill herself because it was her last chance. Patrick Clancy told the police the defendant had never heard voices before. He also told the police the defendant had never used the word psychosis to him before. The first time she used that word psychosis was when she was with a doctor hired by defense counsel and using his cell phone.
Now let's hear what the defense had to say about all of this.
Wow.
We have a paraplegic who can't walk, who is definitely a danger to herself, and the government wants to put her in where? Framingham State Prison? Plymouth House of Correction? There's no way that any...
He said we have a paraplegic like she didn't make herself a paraplegic. You know what I'm saying? You know, you know, it's like, sir, she made her. You act like she was she made herself a paraplegic.
Okay.
Okay. Back to it. Jeez.
A humane person would do that, especially within the structure of our criminal justice system, where a person is presumed innocent. And I'm not suggesting with the facts that the government has read, but she has a good defense. She's got a darn good defense for this case, because that's what happened. To have this woman not held on bail, perhaps put a GPS on her, I guess, if someone's concerned that she's going to miraculously recover, which isn't going to happen. As your Honor knows, being a paraplegic, paralyzed, she can't move. Can't get off the bed. She can't walk. She can't even go to the bathroom. She has to have 24/7 medical care. We all know that this woman is, as counsel concedes apparently, a danger to herself. I question whether she would ever make it to a trial. She's suicidal. She's extremely emotional. However, she's unable and has been unable to express any happiness or sadness or cry. And in fact, sometime about a month or two ago, she made the comment, "I just wish that I could feel something." Now, our society fails miserably in treating women with postpartum depression or even postpartum psychosis. It's medicate, medicate, medicate. Throw the pills at you and then see how it works. If it doesn't work, increase the dose or decrease the dose. Then end up trying another combination of medications.
Now, I want to note here that in the arraignment, the defense shifted from just medication-induced psychosis to postpartum psychosis. So it was now time for the forensic psychiatrist to try to determine whether a crime was premeditated or if this was something else, and they needed to look at the whole picture instead of just one incident. And in this case, in order to see and have visibility to the whole picture, that would include Lindsay's past history with her children. Everything was on the table and nothing was off limits. According to almost everyone that knew Lindsay personally, or even on the surface, she was, by all accounts, just a great mother that loved her children deeply. And also, she absolutely loved being a mom. Even her husband, Patrick, spoke out after these murders, asking the public to forgive Lindsay, since he says that he already had forgiven her. He wrote an absolutely heart-wrenching post on the GoFundMe, detailing their family traditions, talking about Cora, Dawson, and Callan, and spoke out in depth about his marriage to Lindsay. In that, he said, "Nothing matched her intense love for our kids and dedication to being a mother. It was all she ever wanted. Her passion taught me how to be a better father." Now, this is just heartbreaking because Patrick is, of course, grappling with the loss of his 3 children. And then on top of that, the added extra layer that your wife is the one responsible for this. And in that moment, you can imagine feeling torn as far as, should I support her? He obviously knows the mental health situation much more than the public. So do I support her? Is she a monster? All of the things. And he put that statement out pretty quickly, which again kind of sparked even more confusion out there with the public because they now are seeing the parent, the father, and the husband standing by her, being like, maybe things really were different. Maybe this was bad. But any of that empathy took a pretty big turn when more details became public. As I mentioned, there was a clear divide out there. People who were standing with Lindsay, who were advocating for her, who were trying to be empathetic, and then the people on the other side saying, no, she is a monster, she's a murderer, she needs to be held accountable. And that's really all many people had to go on for months. We finally learned the details of those horrific murders, some of the extremely haunting methods of the murder, and that's really all we knew at that point. We had a little bit of information to go off of, but things were under lock and key for the most part, until so much more of that came to light just a couple of weeks ago. On October 26th, things took a serious turn for Lindsay, as she was now standing before a judge at the Tewksbury State Hospital, where she had been getting treatment since the spring. She pleaded not guilty to the charges against her. However, the judge decided to hold her without bail and commit her to psychiatric care because they believed that she was a risk of hurting herself. The judge's decision came after Dr. Karen Towers, a forensic psychiatrist, reported that Lindsay was going through severe depression and having a very hard time coping with life. Dr. Towers expressed her professional opinion that Lindsay needed ongoing psychiatric care. During these court proceedings, prosecutor Jennifer Sprague provided more details about the events that occurred on January 24th, when all 3 of those little children were brutally murdered. According to investigative affidavits, Lindsay had cut her wrists and her neck before jumping from the second-floor window. Prosecutor Jennifer also mentioned that these injuries were not too deep and didn't even need stitches, raising questions about how serious Lindsay's suicide attempt really was.
Oh, so you mean to tell me? Let's unpack this, y'all. You mean to tell me I'm over here thinking this heifer then, look, y'all see how I'm turning on this bitch already? Y'all mean to tell me y'all mean to tell me this whole quote unquote slit her wrist, but it was so, look, the bitch gave herself 2 paper cuts because they said the shit didn't even need stitches.
But then she jumped out the window.
And then your dumb ass gonna jump out the goddamn window and see you was faking. Oh, let me act like I'm trying to slit my wrist. Then you said, and I'll jump out this window for good measure, you dumb ass, and then you goddamn paralyzed yourself.
She ain't think it through, y'all. She did not.
Yeah, she did not think it through. She was missing a few details. Like, damn, I guess I really could help myself. She probably Google that too. Can I really break all my bones if I jump out these 2-story windows? And she probably thought she could make it. See, yeah, I'm turning real quick. I'm turning, y'all. I'm turning on her ass. Okay.
Told you.
Look, now that threw me all the way off. It didn't even the slits didn't even require stitches, and I can't even say those are paper cuts. Those sound like paper cuts. If it doesn't require
Look at
stitches,
Go said, with her being a nurse, wouldn't she know maybe how deep or not deep to cut herself in order to
exactly.
unalive
Yeah,
herself?
she
Just
knew
asking.
that.
Yeah, she was
But she gave it the old
labor and
college try
delivery
jumping
nurse.
out that window. She tried
Yes.
Google. She went to Google for that window and
She also
lost.
noted that Lindsay seemed to be fully aware of her actions, as there were no signs of hallucinations or delusions in her notes where she wrote about her life and her children.
And in the 911 call, you can hear Patrick Clancy go into the house, go down the basement stairs, and we know he went to the right first, which where the exercise room and the home office were, because you hear him screaming, and you hear him say Dawson and my buddy. And he takes the exercise band from around Dawson's neck, and then he goes to the other side of the basement where there's a den, and you hear him find Cora, and he screams baby, and he's screaming. Then you can hear when he finds Callan, because the pain in his voice gets worse. The emergency people come downstairs, all the police, firefighters, yells, she killed the kids. Dr. Dow, DAU, a psychiatrist retained by the Commonwealth, reviewed the defendant's medical records, prescription history, her journals, and didn't find anything out of the ordinary in the manner of treatment or in the medications that were prescribed to her by her providers. She testified at grand jury that the trial of different medications and different combinations and dosages is routine medical practice when initially treating a patient and trying to find out what works for them. The defendant wrote a note on her phone on October 25th, 2022, stating, "I think I sort of resent my other children because they prevent me from treating Cal like my first baby." She also wrote, "I want to feel love and connection with all of my kids." This would indicate that she did not feel love or connection with at least some of her kids. She then wrote she wants to have more kids eventually. 4 days prior to killing her children, the defendant did an internet search on her phone, and it was, quote, "Can you treat a sociopath?" The children were killed with ligature strangulation. Ligature strangulation causes the victim to become unconscious anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute, and that depends on how much the victim struggles or fights. The more they struggle or fight, the longer it takes. Dawson had the most petechiae on his face and neck. According to the medical examiner, this means Dawson either struggled or fought for his life more than Cora or Callan were able to, or that she strangled him harder than the other two, or both. And it takes 10 pounds of pressure at minimum to strangle him. She could have stopped at any time. She could have changed her mind at any time. She could have helped them at any time. She did not. Instead, she finished strangling the children, returned her husband's phone call, then went up to the bedroom on the second floor. There she used the knife to inflict superficial cuts and scratches to her wrist and neck. She took the remaining pills as a Remeron and Seroquel, and then she climbed out of the bedroom window and gripped the windowsill while dangling from it. We know this because there's blood on the outside of the windowsill where her wrist would be in her hand. She then dropped from the window or slid down. She did not jump. She did not hurl herself out the window because there's blood on the exterior shingles going down the exterior of the house. And then on the window, directly below the window she came out of, there's more blood on the top level, looking like she tried to grab onto that windowsill. While being treated at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston after killing her children, the defendant spoke to medical staff. On February 6th, she said that she had fears that her inability to walk would make her vulnerable to others, and that she was worried about not being able to walk again. On February 7th, she said she was feeling more hopeful about her future. On February 8th, she stated that she was more future-oriented and hopeful. And on February 9th, she was visibly engaged, energized, and hopeful.
Lindsay's defense attorney, Kevin Reddington, had a different perspective on this, though.
Ms. Clancy is a nurse, obviously a wife, mother. According to anybody that you speak to prior to this incident, she was nothing less than a marvelous, incredible mother, housewife. I've been in that house. There are photographs that show the love and devotion that both Lindsay and her husband Patrick had these kids. Every single room was covered with her artwork, embroidery, pictures, statements for the kids, charts and graphs of, how they're doing and what they're doing as far as learning, alphabet, numbers, things of that nature. She then, after having the third child, obviously, and I understand that the government wants to portray lack of criminal responsibility as somebody who is crazy, as we would envision somebody being crazy, unable to speak, unable to take care of themselves with hygiene, acting in a very, very irrational fashion. But that's not what happens when you have a situation, as here, where you have a woman who is obviously suffering from postpartum depression. And how do we know that? Well, we know that because in the weeks and months prior, she was in such a state. She was unable to emote. She was unable to feel. She had no ability to love, whether it was her husband or her kids, and she told Patrick, her husband, that. After the one that went to the doctors and told the doctors that she was acting as a zombie.
He argued against Jennifer's points, mentioning that he could see the blood from Lindsay's wounds on the floor, the walls, and even the window pane, which suggested a more serious situation than what Jennifer had described as, and I quote, a dinky cut. So in the midst of all of this, investigators obtained warrants to search Lindsay's electronic devices. This included a tablet in a blue case that was found in the kitchen, an HP Pavilion laptop recovered from a basement office, a silver Dell laptop located in a first-floor closet, and a pink Apple iPhone that was found in a second-floor dresser of one of the bedrooms. They also discovered quite a few journals, where Lindsay would journal about her mental health and feelings about her children, but also researching ways to kill. So these devices contained Lindsay's digital footprints and her thoughts on mental health, all the way to those disturbing searches related to self-harm. So the goal of all of these search warrants was to find any evidence that this was in fact premeditated. The search warrants also revealed Lindsay's medical history. She had been prescribed multiple psychiatric medicines, as her defense attorney had claimed, such as Zoloft, Valium, Trazodone, Ativan, Klonopin, Prozac, and Seroquel. Documents showed that her husband, Patrick Clancy, had also noticed the signs of the suicidal thoughts in late December 2022, right before she admitted herself for inpatient treatment. So all of this information, with the journals, the search history, her husband noticing the ideations, this all coupled with the fact that Lindsay had voluntarily admitted herself to McLean Hospital from New Year's Day to January 5th, indicated a level of self-awareness for Patrick regarding her struggles, regarding the mental health struggles that she was facing. But Lindsay's struggles took a more mysterious turn when it was revealed that she had confided in a close friend about her thoughts of harming both her children and herself. Now, interestingly, just 2 days before the tragic events unfolded, this friend had hosted the Clancy family over at the house for dinner. During that gathering, though, Lindsay's behavior apparently hadn't raised any alarms, and everything appeared completely normal. In the documents, it also reveals more information in support of the argument that Lindsay planned these murders. Prosecutors said that there was evidence that she searched how long it would take for her husband to pick up that takeout food from the Plymouth restaurant 3V, indicating that Lindsay was researching what kind of window of time she would have. How long was it going to take for him to go get this food? What time would he be back? How long do I have? What's my window of time to execute these murders? What's my time limit? Where is my timer? The new documents also outline how Patrick Clancy called Lindsay while he was at CVS, confirming that he had bought the medication that she had asked for her daughter. He felt that she was acting strangely during this call, strangely urgent, though nothing apparently seemed off at the time. Now we know she was about to execute her plan. Now the true horror unfolded when Patrick got home and made that gruesome discovery in the basement. 2 of their children had been strangled with cords or exercise bands, and their faces were turning blue and purple. Police searched the home extensively, finding crucial pieces of evidence, including the murder weapons, knives, and several of those notebooks. And these notebooks contained a comprehensive list of those medications that Lindsay had been prescribed, which was further supporting the defense's argument that she had been overly medicated. It became evident that Lindsay had been dealing with a very complex cocktail of psychiatric drugs. And those notebooks didn't just document her medication regimen. They also contained her innermost thoughts, her struggles, and her confidence in friends, one of whom was cryptically referred to as Sue. Lindsay's defense lawyer, Kevin Reddington, maintained his stance that Lindsay Clancy had been over-medicated with a staggering 13 different psychiatric drugs. He also suggested that postpartum depression may have played a role in her actions, arguing that the killings were a product of mental illness. It is just extremely messy. I truthfully see both sides of the argument here. I can see why people believe that she was mentally ill, she was overly medicated, that maybe she wasn't in her right state of mind when these horrific murders occurred. Yet I also can understand the other side of the argument that, you know what? Tough shit. At the end of the day, you're a mother and you murdered your 3 children, and you need to be held fully responsible and held accountable to the fullest extent. Which, regardless where you are on that side of the argument, I do think that there needs to be some level of accountability, whether that is life in a psychiatric facility or life in prison. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. And a lot of people still also do think that the fact that she is still showing suicidal tendencies is because she is finally getting the medication and the help she needs. So reality has set in. She's realized what she's done. She realizes that she just annihilated her family. And so rather than live with that, she would rather take her own life, perhaps to be with them, perhaps as penance. I don't even know. But then other people are saying, no, she only feels that way because she's guilty and she's a coward and she wants and she wants to take the easy way out. So, like I said, just very controversial, very divided. So as the case continues to unravel, Lindsay's next court date is scheduled for December 15th. But at the end of the day, a family was absolutely destroyed, and 3 precious lives were taken. So I am curious for your opinion. Where do you stand on this case? Do you think this was premeditated? Do you think this is a result of a mental illness and over-medication? Or do you think that this was cold-blooded murder, she did not want to be a mom anymore, and it was premeditated? I'm curious to know what you guys think. All right, guys, and don't forget to snag all of those amazing deals from today's sponsors. I have linked everything in the show notes below for you. I know this case is very controversial, guys. I appreciate you listening and sticking through, so thank you so much for that. Just please continue to keep Patrick and those 3 sweet baby souls in your thoughts and prayers, and let's hope that there is a decrease in the family annihilator cases, because unfortunately, right now, there's so many out there. It's happening far too frequently. Thank you again so much for tuning in on today's episode. Please don't forget to follow the podcast if you're not already. That way you don't miss any future episodes. Give us a rating and a review if you would be so generous to do so. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I also have some really exciting news that I'm going to be sharing with you guys in the near future, so stay tuned so you don't miss that. All right, thanks so much.
Okay, you guys, that was a very interesting story, and let me see. Looks like I think I subscribed to this channel the other day, so I'm gonna definitely look out for any updates on that. I don't know. Put it in the chat. What are your thoughts? Tonight was just a quick little show, unless anybody really has something that you want to talk about really quickly. But I was just doing a quick little show tonight just to check in with everyone. Thank you, Shay. That was definitely a good story and a lot to think about. But I don't know. Look, at the beginning, I was for this mother. Like, how dare they have her on all these medications? You know, this is their fault. But the more the story went on, you guys, may not be no man involved yet that we know of, but what was going on with this woman?
She was a psych.
Was she overwhelmed with motherhood? Was she truly overwhelmed with motherhood? But you know what?
Maybe.
That's not an excuse. Even the thing of it is, even when you are overwhelmed with motherhood, because all 3 of us on the panel are mothers, and we know that you can get overwhelmed with motherhood. Hell, your kids can be grown. My children are grown, and you can still get overwhelmed with motherhood, because it's a job that does not end. But if that truly was the case, and your husband is aware, ladies, how much are we putting on the husband here? Because if I'm telling you I'm struggling, and Are you really helping me, or just telling me to get on a pill or get over it? Are you really helping me? I don't know. I
That's
would
a
be
good point,
interested.
Candy.
Yeah, seriously, because
Yeah.
That's a good point.
this is not a woman that's here by ourselves. Like a lot of times, you know, you can be a single mother and you can be struggling, and you don't have a backup person. You're like, you really do have to be like, okay, let me just get over it, get through the day, or just make it till 9 o'clock until they can go to bed and I can go to bed and get my head together. But when you have another person, let me ask you, Tamika, I know that you're married, right? Can you even imagine yourself struggling that hard with your children and your husband just sitting there and he's not helping you?
It
No, I
happens a
can't
lot.
imagine that.
And it does happen a lot. And that's sad. To be honest with you guys, I know a lot of married single mothers. And that's sad. That's a whole nother show that we could tackle. There are a lot of married single mothers who are left to do everything. And then, yes, you do struggle. You know, if you
But
have
you
another
get through
person in
it.
the home that has
But
all
you
these
get through it.
expectations, yes, you get through it without harming your children. So I don't know. We definitely need to we're definitely going to need to have a discussion about this. I'm going to put it on the list. We do need to have a talk about this, about postpartum depression and things like this. It is a real thing. It's a real thing. And yeah, I'm definitely going to put this on the list for us to talk about in depth, because there may have been some of us that have gone through it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
I,
you
I
guys.
wish Miss Marla had been here to give her perspective.
Oh, yeah.
She probably would have had a good perspective on this. I don't know.
But
I'm
you know what?
straddling the
When we
fence.
when we do
I
our
feel like I
show,
need
we'll
more.
have her.
I feel like I need more information.
Yes. We'll try to find some more details when we have our show
Okay,
about this topic.
cool.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, it has been so nice, you guys. Thanks for hopping on in for our little quick discussion and reaction.
Yes. Thank you,
And we
everybody.
will see you guys. Coco, I'm gonna come
Yeah.
on early tomorrow at 6:30 as soon as I get off, and that way we're ready to go into Taco Tuesday. If you choose to host Taco Tuesday, but I know
Oh no,
I'll be going.
I'm definitely hosting Taco Tuesday tomorrow.
Okay, so yeah, I'll have a little pre-show, and then we'll be headed over to Coco's tomorrow. Okay, so I can tell you right now, I know for sure tomorrow's show is gonna be at 6:30, right on the dizot. And Coco can tell you when hers will be. Do you know now, or you just gonna deal with that tomorrow?
I was gonna start at 8, but does that give you a chance to finish up?
Okay.
Ow.
Yep, definitely, definitely, definitely. Okay, you guys, thank you for coming through. We appreciate you. If you did not give it a like on your way in, please give us a like on your way out. If you want to, leave a comment as well. I appreciate you. And thank you guys for coming through. See you tomorrow night.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.